Hey guys, Trav here. This video is going to be a little different. I would like to kind of have a discussion with you guys and maybe shed a little insight into some of the thoughts that might be going through my head when coming up with these contraptions. Um, and maybe we can get a dialogue going. As you guys know, I just finished clearing the witch hut perimeter, and it's a 300 by 300 perimeter. And now we're tasked with the last chore, which is to make the floor spawn proof. We can't just leave the bare bedrock. So we either had to put glass down, a layer of slime down, or slabs down, something to make it spawn proof. Um, and we could go around and place the 70 something thousand blocks by hand. That's obviously an option. But as I said in the video, perimeters on console, that a lot of these tasks that we do as technical players, we don't do just for the end result. That's part of it is the progress along the way, and that we can present ourselves with opportunities to overcome challenges. So by saying that is, yes, I could place them by hand, but also if we could come up with a way to automate it, then that provides us with a learning opportunity. So then how can we best automate the process of placing down a spawn-proof floor onto a 300 by 300 perimeter? Um, if we were to kind of use this hole here to represent the perimeter, there's a few ways that come to mind that we could go out, set out to accomplish this. As you guys have seen from my older videos on the sugarcane farms, the bamboo farms, they use flying machines that break the crops. So one way you could do this is you could actually place blocks down and then have flying machines carry them to the other end. That's one option. But then that presents its own problems. One with a 300 wide hole, that's going to be a lot of flying machines. And then add that to our low render distance and the performance we get on console. Those flying machines are pretty laggy. So I don't think that's going to be our best best option. Furthermore, the flying machines are going to have to go all the way across and then come all the way back. So it's going to take a lot of time. So another option would be if we were to place along one side and then back our way up. So we could use a flying machine that just carries us sideways, side to side, and we could place the floor, while sitting in a flying machine, and that's one option. It'd be a lot less parts included in a flying machine than that other design to carry the whole floor over. But that's not without issues. If you're AFK placing and maybe you miss a block, then you might have a hard time placing it the next time, and then that issue could compound to where you're having a tough time and maybe you're missing holes and they add to each other. You could run into a situation like that. And then the other issue with that is if you're going back and forth, how are you going to keep sending parts to you to place? And what I mean by that is, like, we won't be able to fit all the items in our inventory. So, we would be having like a water stream come to us with items as we place. It's going to be filling our inventory. But if you're moving back and forth with a flying machine, that's a little more difficult to solve. Now, I'm not saying it's not solvable. Maybe you have a dispenser, throw them on the ground behind you, and as you go back and forth and back up, you pick those items up, and then you can keep placing. So there's ways to do it. Just kind of thinking about some of the issues we're going to face if we go that route. Another way we could go is if we were to actually just stand in one corner and we were to AFK place blocks and have those blocks then pushed all the way down. And then once that row's full, we back up and then place AFK place blocks and then have those blocks pushed all the way down. Then all we do is just keep moving this way. So this is one solution. So some of the issues that would present would be, well, this is going to have to be a piston system to push these blocks over. So what are we going to do when this reaches 12 blocks and we're at our push limit? That piston can't push them. How are we going to carry those over? And then also, how are we going to bring this piston assembly that's that's pushing these blocks over? How are we going to bring this with us backwards? You know, how are we going to solve that issue? Since it's going to have to move, so it'll have to be on some sort of flying machine, unless you remake that system every single tile. So there's a couple things to keep in mind here. I think this solution would probably be the simplest to come up to solve, to come up with a design for using the piston. So let's kind of explore that a little bit. What I have here, other than a pig, is just a smart piston assembly. You know, it just uses the bud power from a block you place to update this, and sends the parts on its way, and it'll go until it reaches push limit. And it works great. The only issue with it is this isn't movable. You know, with dust and with a torch, you know, these things can't be moved. So we're going to have to come up with something different there. And before we move on, I wanted to show you another option for those that's pretty console friendly, is a little less lag by, you know, pulling the pulse off of like a cauldron or something and sending it across. It's you're not going to have to do with the torch. And the signal strength update's smaller. So this works pretty well. And as a matter of fact, we can make this faster by putting another piston on the top here to send an update, a second update to that one down there. So then that way it's powered every 4 game ticks, so as fast as you could play. And hit push limit. So just wanted to show you that to you. You know, that's not, obviously this isn't pushable, but it's something to consider. So, you know, one thing what we could do by using observers, it could all be moved down. So what I have here is all what this is going to do is it's going to change the direction by moving the blocks out. So instead of us standing here AFK placing, we would be down the line a ways, sending blocks to that, and that's going to turn its direction and send the line across. So, you know, we have an option here. You know, we can explore that a little bit. And instead of us placing the blocks and this be the primary point, this could be a secondary, and it could turn the blocks. And that's all movable. So that's something we could consider. Now, one issue with these designs is they're not going to work with the blocks we really want to use, because if we just use normal building blocks, we're not solving our problem. We might as well leave it at bedrock. So, you know, I can't use glass here. I won't be able to put slime down here. It's going to stick to the, everything. And I can't use slabs, which is ideally what I want to use. So having the block we're placing update isn't really solving a whole lot for us. So instead, what we could do is have this piston be on a clock and have that push it. So what I did here is I kind of came up with one design that's movable. If we were to put some slime blocks in here, this could all move. It's using observers. And the way it works, if we remove this, it's creating a clock. You know, by sending that pulse down through this, updating that observer, bringing the pulse around to this observer, back to our push piston, and then repeating the cycle. And then from here, then we could use, you know, odd blocks. And we can do that. However, we run into an issue where, look at this, we're going too fast for our own good. And with that double pulse we're getting, it's creating some problems. And so this system, I think we're onto something, but it certainly has some bugs to work out. And it's not as simple as just moving the top stuff around to the other side to eliminate that double pulse, because if we do that, we lose our clock function. So it's not quite that simple. I think this here probably would work on Java without any hitch, but our observers like to send a double pulse here, and this doesn't eliminate that on console. So moving on, we got a couple things to kind of consider here, you know, on how to solve this issue and whether or not we're going to be able to, and I think we can. So I kind of wanted to give you guys some thoughts I had and a couple maybe prototype designs for moving those blocks over. So what we'll move on here what we have here is we're going to solve the second issue, or we're going to try to solve the second issue. What do we do when we hit push limit? How are we going to solve that issue? Because we got to go all the way across our perimeter. So what I've constructed is just a kind of a feed tape, a conveyor system, to where as our floor comes through, it updates this observer, and every time it moves, it's going to update it again, and that carries its pull through to this normal piston, which is moving this little bud block. And then when it gets pushed over, it's going to power this, and then it's going to bring it back and reset itself. So let's kind of take a look at this here. And as you can see, all that's doing is it's just resetting the length of our push limit. It's creating its own push limit. So all you would have to do is build this assembly, every time you hit that 12 block push limit. And like before, we know this doesn't work. So if we were to test out using a clock, get rid of this. If we were to test out using a clock, all I've done here is I've added a clock. Let's put everything on no delay here, just one tick. Let's start this clock up. So I've got a clock here, so that way we can test which laps. Now the question is, well, we're still getting some of this invisible shit going on here. It's like we're getting that issue. So we need to figure out what we have to do to fix that. So we're going to have to add some delay. So the question then is how much delay. So for now, let's add a tick to each. So let's add 4 ticks and see if this helps. This looks like this might solve it. Okay, so can we go less? So here we got 2 ticks. Oh, no, we're already running invisible blocks. So we'll add one. Not quite. See if we can get rid of some of these. Still getting that issue. Okay, with this piston updating, the timing's off. If I slow it way down, I don't have to worry about any of that. So the whole point of this is from testing this design, using a clock and the piston, it's presenting us with this new problem where we're creating these ghost blocks, invisible blocks like that, and we didn't have to deal with that issue using the building block as the bud power with those other systems down there. That issue's presented itself with this clock. So I guess the point here is, and the whole point of this video is just to kind of walk you through some thoughts I've had in doing this, and maybe provide a little inspiration or start a discussion on how we can go about solving these issues, and what kind of issues we do have on console, and what are ways we can overcome those. And we don't know without testing. And it's okay to test something and have it fail. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that as long as you learn from it. That's the whole point. That's how we get wiser. So that's what I've come up with so far. I think a clock system is going to work the best. But the issue is, how do we make an observer-based clock system that's slow enough that we don't have to deal with these damn ghost blocks? So we'll see. Keep working on this design, and then we'll change things up and maybe go to the other design and have a flying machine carry us as we place the blocks. Perhaps that's the other way of doing it. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you were able to get something out of this, and this gets you thinking a little bit. And I'll keep working on it, and I'll come up with another video as progress unfolds, so we can get that floor there and start building our witch hut. So with that, guys, enjoy the week. Thanks for all the support lately. I really do enjoy it. And keep showing your support by leaving likes, comment below with any questions or thoughts you might have. So with that, guys, this is Trav. Enjoy your week. Over now.